It's fair to say that the Diary of a Wimpy Kid franchise was at the height of the cultural zeitgeist during the late 2000s and early 2010s. The book series was extremely popular with young readers, selling millions of copies worldwide. In addition, the books were eventually adapted into a trilogy of commercially and critically successful movies. However, in the decades since, the franchise has plummeted in both popularity and in quality. So, what went wrong? The Diary of a Wimpy Kid series was created by American author and cartoonist Jeff Kinney. He originally came up with the idea in 1998, but it wasn't until 2004 that the first version of Diary of a Wimpy Kid appeared on the educational website FunBrain. Daily entries were added to the site until June of 2005. The online version of the book became extremely popular, receiving over 20 million views. In February of 2006, Kinney signed a multi-book deal with Abrams Books to officially turn Diary of a Wimpy Kid into a printed series. The first book would be released on April 1st, 2007, and became an overnight sensation. The book series was written from the perspective of Greg Heffley, a middle schooler at Westmore Middle School who documents his various life experiences with his dysfunctional family and best friend Rowley in his journal. Unlike the protagonists in most young adult books, Greg is often depicted as selfish and narcissistic, with an obsession for becoming famous. His attempts to gain attention and admiration from those around him always ends up backfiring in some hilarious way. In the series, Greg lives with his parents, older brother Rodrick, and younger brother Manny. Greg's mom Susan is depicted as loving and caring, while also being overprotective, naive, and embarrassing. She shows heavy favoritism towards her youngest child Manny, which becomes a common frustration between Greg and Rodrick. Greg's dad Frank is also depicted as overprotective and naive. He is obsessed with American history, and even has a replica of a Civil War battlefield that plays a role in several stories within the series. Greg's older brother Rodrick is a rebellious teenager who plays the drums for a metal band called Loaded Diaper. He is impulsive, arrogant, simple-minded, and rude. Greg's younger brother Manny is pampered by his parents and shown to be unusually intelligent and conniving for his age. In many ways, his best friend Rowley is the exact opposite of Greg, being depicted as exceptionally kind, trusting, and naive. Unlike Greg, Rowley is an only child and is spoiled by his eccentric parents. In total, there are currently 19 books in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series that were released from 2007 to 2023. The books were published under Amulet Books, a subsidiary of American publisher Abrams Books. Personally, I was obsessed with the books when I was younger. I remember reading the first 5 books in the series multiple times. They contain the most iconic moments in the series, like the Cheese Touch Saga, the introduction of Greg's Zooey Mama comics, Rodrick's Halloween party, and many more. The books perfectly captured the angst of being a preteen, with Greg's various complaints and frustrations about things in his everyday life. Coupled with the crude illustrations and hilarious situational comedy, it's really easy to see why these books became so popular. If any of you were curious how I would rank the books that I have read, I would probably go Rodrick Rules, the first book, The Last Straw, Dog Days, and then The Ugly Truth. Near the end of the 2000s, 20th Century Fox acquired film rights to the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. The first movie in the series, appropriately titled Diary of a Wimpy Kid, was released on March 19, 2010. The movie was obviously adapted from the first book in the series, and was directed by Thor Freudenthal, who directed the cinematic classics Hotel for Dogs and Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters. Right off the bat, the best thing about the first movie is definitely the casting. I mean, they nailed it. All the actors play off each other so well, and I honestly don't think they could have done a better job casting for each role. For me, the standout performances have always been Devin Bostick as Rodrick and Steve Zahn as Frank Heffley. Both actors just have such great comedic timing in the movie, and they really steal every scene that they're in. Casting Robert Capron as Rowley was also an excellent casting decision. I mean, he just truly embodies Rowley, and his camaraderie with Zachary Gordon as Greg is really the heart of the movie. Speaking of Greg, I really like that they didn't shy away from including some of his negative qualities. Greg's kind of a dick in the movie, but that's why it works. Seeing Greg get his comeuppance is as funny as it is satisfying. On the other hand, you can't help but feel a little sorry for him when his family just completely embarrasses him in front of his peers. Greg also grows throughout the movie, deciding at the end to claim that he ate the cheese to cover for Rowley. Overall, the first movie was a really strong start that introduced us to the world of Diary of a Wimpy Kid and set the tone for the rest of the movies in the series. Fans would only have to wait 1 year for the release of the next movie in the series. Diary of a Wimpy Kid Rodrick Rules was released on March 25th, 2011. This time, the movie was directed by David Bowers, who was most known at the time for directing the animated Astro Boy movie from 2009. This movie was adapted from the second book of the same name and focuses on the relationship between Greg and his brother Rodrick. Rodrick Rules has always been my favorite movie in the series. I think it has the best writing, the best gags, and Devin Bostic really gets his chance to shine. After their mother forces them to spend more time together, Rodrick and Greg slowly begin to understand each other and form a bond. Their relationship is handled so well in this movie. Their growing bond feels like a natural progression for their characters, and the actors have great on-screen chemistry. Everything culminating in Loaded Diaper's legendary performance at the talent show is just a perfect way to conclude an already perfect movie. While researching for this video, I was surprised to learn that this is actually the lowest rated movie of the original trilogy, receiving only a 47% on Rotten Tomatoes. The final movie of the original trilogy, Diary of a Wimpy Kid Dog Days, was adapted from both the third and fourth books in the series. It was released on August 3rd, 2012, and was also directed by David Bowers. The story centers on Greg's relationship with his dad, who he lies to by saying he got a summer job at a country club. Well, I don't think this movie is as strong as Rodrick Rules. It still has its moments. The introduction to the Heffley's new dog Sweetie provides some good laughs, and the scene where Greg and Rowley go to the pier with Rowley's parents has always been memorable to me. I also have always loved the final scene with Loaded Diaper's disastrous performance at Heather's Sweet 16. There are also some good moments between Greg and his dad that show growth in their relationship. Overall, Diary of a Wimpy Kid Dog Days feels like a fitting end to the trilogy, with a lot of the main cast starting to get too old to reprise their roles in future movies. Revisiting these movies, I was reminded just how much they really feel like lightning in a bottle. They were faithful adaptations of the books with perfect casting, and I really like how each movie focuses on a different relationship Greg has with his friends and family. It allows the movies to show the ways in which Greg has grown as a character, and you get to learn more about the other characters in his life. While they're not masterpieces or anything, they accomplish everything they should, and allow anyone to watch them and understand the characters and the world of Diary of a Wimpy Kid without ever having to read any of the books. If you're curious to how I would rank the movies, I would actually rank them pretty similar to how I rank the books. So I would go Rodrick Rules, the first movie, and then Dog Days. Despite for years saying that Diary of a Wimpy Kid Dog Days would be the final live-action Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, Kinney and Fox Studios would surprisingly announce that another live-action movie would be released in 2017. Diary of a Wimpy Kid The Long Haul was released on May 19th, 2017, and was co-written by Jeff Kinney and the director David Bowers. It was adapted from the 9th book of the same name in the series, and also incorporated elements from the books Old School, Hard Luck, and The Third Wheel. The movie included an all-new cast, with Jason Drucker replacing Zachary Gordon as Greg, 90s heartthrob Alicia Silverstone as his mom Susan Heffley, Charlie Wright as Rodrick, and Tom Everett Scott as Frank Heffley. Honestly, everything about this movie is baffling to me. Waiting just 5 years after the release of Dog Days and rebooting the franchise with a completely new cast was pretty much guaranteed to fail. The original trilogy of movies are beloved, and it's genuinely hard to picture any other actors portraying the characters in the series. I decided to sit down and watch Diary of a Wimpy Kid: The Long Haul for this video, and let me tell you, it was a rough experience. I guess I should start by addressing the Rodrick-sized elephant in the room. When the first trailer for The Long Haul was released in 2016, fans immediately began disliking the video and lamenting about how upset they were over Rodrick being recast in the movie. This eventually led to the creation of the NotmyRodrick meme, which became increasingly popular over the following weeks. While many people just made memes and joked about Wright's appearance, some people took things too far and began sending the actor death threats and other hateful messages. Unfortunately for Charlie Wright, this backlash basically ended his acting career. Honestly, feel really bad for him, especially considering he's not even the worst part of the movie. Speaking of which, back to talking about this dumpster fire of a movie. The movie follows the Heffley family after they decide to embark on a cross-country road trip to visit their grandmother for her 90th birthday. And just right off the bat, all the characters in this movie feel like caricatures. They all constantly overreact to every little thing that happens in the movie. Greg comes across way whinier and childish than he did in the original trilogy, and the actor that plays Greg, Jason Drucker, does not look 12 years old in this movie, and I just found that constantly distracting. Tom Everett Scott as Frank is really missing that neurotic energy that Steve Zahn brought to the part in the original trilogy. Charlie Wright, he tried his best to fill the shoes as Devin Bostic as Rodrick, but unfortunately the writing just makes him feel even more immature and dumber than he did in the original trilogy, and they really just gave him some of the worst lines in the whole movie. Rowley makes a brief appearance in the beginning of the movie, and even he feels like a caricature of Robert Capron's performance in the original movies. There's also way more toilet humor in this movie than I remember there being in the original trilogy. Just constantly jokes about puke or poop or diapers or pee. They're just littered throughout this entire movie. To me, one of the strange decisions was the decision to include a Psycho homage. Like, who's that for? None of the kids watching this movie are going to be familiar with Psycho or know what that scene is referencing. It just feels like such a strange choice to include. If I had to give the movie a positive, I'd have to say that Alicia Silverstone is really the only actor that almost resembles the character from the original trilogy. She definitely gives the best performance of the movie. I also like the scene where Greg and Rodrick hold up the kidnapping sign near the beginning of the movie. It was a fun little visual gag, and it felt like a scene that would have been in the original trilogy. Overall, The Long Haul is really a train wreck of a movie, and I'm not surprised it was received so poorly by the fan base. In 2019, Disney acquired the rights to several Fox properties, including the Diary of a Wimpy Kid franchise. After the negative reception from The Long Haul, producers wanted to completely reboot the franchise. They decided to transition to animation and would release Diary of a Wimpy Kid on Disney Plus on December 3rd, 2021. The screenplay was written by Jeff Kinney, and he also acted as a producer for the movie. From the trailers, it seems like the movie is a straightforward adaptation of the first book in the series. Prior to the release of the movie, Kinney announced 2 sequels were already in production. Diary of a Wimpy Kid: Rodrick Rules was released on Disney Plus on December 2nd, 2022, and was again written and produced by Jeff Kinney. Similar to the first movie, Rodrick Rules seems to be a straightforward adaptation of the second book in the series. The third and final animated movie released was Diary of a Wimpy Kid Christmas: Cabin Fever. The movie was adapted from the 6th book in the series and was released on Disney Plus on December 8th, 2023. Kinney returned as screenwriter and producer on this movie as well. From watching the trailers, the animation style feels kind of similar to the unappealing animation that the Illumination movies have become notorious for. Honestly, I feel like if they had just incorporated the 2D style that they used in the beginning of the live-action movies, it probably would have worked a lot better. I also think it was a really strange decision to rehash the stories from the first 2 books. Like, I would definitely much rather watch the live-action movies that I already love than one of the new animated movies that has the same storyline. If they had instead made it into like a series that focused on adapting various short stories from the entire book series, I actually think it would have worked pretty well. The books are already written in a way that you could easily adapt into short episodes. Based on what I read online, it sounds like Kinney has already confirmed that the next animated movie is already in production and will be adapted from the third book in the series, The Last Straw. With that announcement, the future is looking pretty bleak for the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. If I had to guess, they're probably trying to appeal to the next generation of readers just discovering the franchise, which is fine, I get it. At least I'll always have the original trilogy if I'm ever in the mood to revisit the franchise. The Diary of a Wimpy Kid series shaped the childhood of millions of kids around the world, including my own. While it's changed quite a bit over the years and may not be as strong as it used to be, its universal themes and storylines about growing up will continue to resonate with future generations of children everywhere. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and consider subscribing to my channel for more videos coming out soon. Please leave any suggestions for future videos in the comment section down below. See you next time.